Okay, so this is the third EOP event of EOP Week with It's On Us UC, focusing on believing sexual assault survivors and how to be an active bystander. So we're going to start off with some introductions. Madeline, why don't you go first? Introduce your name, your organization, and then overview of services or programs provided, and then you can split up that last part with Emily.
Okay, awesome. Hi, I'm Madeline Thomas. I'm the co-president, and It's On Us is the UC student-led organization. We have 6 exec board members, and our intent is to prevent sexual assault on the University of Cincinnati campus. And then we also want to raise awareness and create a community of support for survivors. So that's basically our whole goal for our organization. And then Emily, if you want to talk about the next part.
Yes, my name is Emily Militello. I'm also a co-president. And sadly, like Madeline said, there are other members, but they were not able to attend. So Grace is the secretary. There's Alex, who is volunteer and outreach, along with Katie. And then there's Emma, who may attend later in the meeting. And she is the treasurer and fundraising. So we will start that. Madeline had a great introduction with what we are about. We have other meetings that we are holding, sadly, due to COVID. And the end of the semester, we will be holding more next semester.
Okay, so I'm Cole. You've seen me on the other videos. I am the EOP coordinator for Pi Lambda Phi OMU chapter. So let's get into the discussion. So under our definitions of basic section, so what is sexual assault? And I will hand that one off to Madeline.
Okay. Sexual assault refers to sexual contact and behavior that occurs without consent from the victim. So some of the sexual assaults that happen and include is attempted rape, fondling or unwanted sexual touching, forcing a victim to perform sexual acts or rape. Basically anything that someone's uncomfortable with. So you can just know and you can just tell when something like that happens. So sexual assault, I would say, is like what Emily's about to talk about is when you don't give consent to something, you say no, and the person goes against what you say.
Okay, so Emily, can you go ahead and define what is consent for us?
Yes, I can. So I'm pretty sure many people know what consent is, but it's extremely important and is a mutual agreement between individuals. Talking about sexual assault and sexual activity, this is the mutual agreement with engaging in sexual activity. So it needs to be communicated clearly, and it absolutely cannot be given by someone who's underage, intoxicated, or unconscious.
Yeah, and to add on to that, we had this picture that we found online, and it's like consent is like fries, and F is for freely given, R is for reversible, I is for informed, E is for enthusiastic, and S is for specific. So that's just like a little acronym to remember that by.
Okay, thank you. So what separates rape and what's versus sexual assault for Madeline?
Okay, so rape is a form of sexual assault, but not all sexual assault is rape. So rape is the legal definition to specifically include sexual penetration without consent. So that's just a brief definition of it.
Okay, for Emily, so lots of the time sexual assault is seen as only a woman's issue. Why is it also a men's issue?
So that is very important to realize that it's not just a woman's issue, like you said. Men know and want to help survivors, and men too are also sexually assaulted. Some men also sexually assault, and a lot of the time sometimes people think badly of men, and it can change the women's view of men. And also men, like women, have the power to stop sexual violence. So I found a quote, and it said, let's see. It said that, well, sadly, it says 326 students have experienced some form of sexual assault during their time. 230 out of 1,000 sexual assaults are reported. And those are just a little bit of things. But in the end, it's important for men and women to be educated just because it can happen to anyone.
Thank you. I think it's a really important inclusion that everyone can stop it, regardless of gender, regardless of age. If you are there being a bystander, you can go ahead, intervene, and you can potentially save a life. So that brings us into our next section, being a bystander. So Madeline, what is a bystander?
Yeah, so a bystander is anyone who is present during anything that's a situation that's occurring and not directly involved in it. So a bystander intervention is when a bystander takes action and intervenes in an act of violence or the acts leading up to violence. So like what we were talking about, like a bystander is just someone who stands by and would watch it happen. When we need an active bystander or bystander intervention to be like, hey, that's not cool, or at least doing something to get in the way of that, because like you said, anything that you could do could help save somebody.
Okay, so Emily, a lot of the times assaults can kind of reside in a gray area. How do you identify when an assault is occurring?
So personally for me, after looking into it and becoming educated, before I was on the exec board of It's On Us, we were talked about, or we had someone come in and talk about It's On Us. So immediately I was interested, but she also talked about this situation. So usually it can be a girl or a guy grabbing somebody, acting suspicious. Especially when you're out, it's important to go with your gut because it's better to be safe than sorry. Like you said, it can potentially save someone's life. So I was actually in a car. This is my experience, but I was actually in a car and I saw a girl that looked like she was running away from someone. And she looked scared. Like most of the time you can see on their face, I think, or see something that looks suspicious. So I think it's important, like I said, it doesn't really matter, the person could be mad at you if you go up to them and saying something suspicious. Are you okay? Something wrong? Like I said, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Okay, thank you. So for Madeline, how do you intervene in an active assault?
So one of the ways to intervene or be someone to help during that situation is stepping in and giving that person an out, telling them that you're concerned about them, and then giving them a chance to leave with you or find a safe place. One can also cause distraction or get help. So like we've seen before, I've watched videos on this, that you can just make up an excuse, go up to the person and be like, hey, your car, someone said that it's getting towed or something. So then that gives a reason for that person to leave. So then you can ask that person, hey, are you okay? Is this person bothering you? And then sadly, many people do not want help often because someone else, like you think someone else will do it, or I don't want to cause a scene, or I don't want to say something, it's not my business. But it's better to be safe than sorry and to just go with your gut and find a distraction or find a way to get that person by themselves and ask them if they're okay.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us on to our next section of questions, which is sexual assault on campus. So this one will be for Emily. How common is sexual assault at UC?
So I actually looked this up and it's on news record, and they stated that 135 incidences of sexual assault were reported to the authorities. And it said from 2016 to 2020. So I'm not sure if that's current, or I'm pretty sure it was updated in August. But it also, I looked it up on UC's website, and it says on August 14th, the policy was established to provide one process for consistent supportive experience for all students, faculty, and staff. And they said that the Board of Trustees transferred the Title IX provision from the Student Code of Conduct to its university rule on non-discrimination and harassment. So it says it centralized the policy and allows greater access and ease of use for all members of our university community. So it's very upsetting that there are this many incidents I think it's an eye-opener, especially because a lot of the times you don't hear of these things happening, but also you have to remember that these definitely are not all of them. These are just the reported. I think that's important to remember.
Thank you. So for Madeline, what resources are available on campus for students and what do they cover?
Some resources that we have on campus. Sorry, I'm looking it up on we have it on our, if you follow our Instagram, we have a report and a support little tab. And to report, there's one thing you can call either the UC Police or Public Safety, Cincinnati Police, and then UC Title IX office. But like you said, right now they don't have a department head. And then there's also, it's called Crime Victim Services Coordinator. And then to get confidential support, so like people who wouldn't make a report about it if you're not comfortable doing that, we have the Women Helping Women 24-hour crisis helpline, which they would just be there to talk to you and see if you need anything. And then there's also a UC Campus Advocate, and then UC Counseling and Psychological Services, and a Consolation and Crisis Helpline. So if you, I can always share that with you after this, or if you go onto our Instagram in our little tab thing, it just pops up right there so that we can give more information to people.
And then I'll actually go further on to that.
Yeah,
so,
please add.
No, it's okay. So like Madeline said, the UC Police is available, and that's specifically for on campus, and off campus is the Cincinnati Police. And then they say if you're unsure where, there's a confidential and a non-confidential. So like Madeline said, the Crime Victim Services Coordinator. And the confidential also has, if you're not on campus or if you're going to Blue Ash, there's also Blue Ash Counseling Services as well as Claremont. And I believe that the reasoning for this is that one might not feel comfortable reporting right away, or they don't want to really report at all. So other than the resources that you see, there are hotlines, as well as speaking to friends and family members that you feel comfortable. If not, that's totally fine, what the hotlines are for. Also, there are movies or videos that one may want to watch just to maybe even feel comfortable talking about or coming out about their experience.
Thank you. I'm sorry about my email going off.
I got one too.
You're fine. Yeah, I did too.
So either one of you can answer this because you split up the last one. So how reliable do you see those options for survivors?
Do you want me to go, Madeline?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, so for non-confidential, I believe that both could be helpful or a start. So I feel like if one is very uncomfortable about the situation, I think the confidential is a great place to start. Just because I know a lot of people, like I said, those are the ones at UC that are reported. Many don't report just for the reason of, and I know we're going to talk about this, like the rape culture and stuff like that, how a lot of people do blame the victim, which is very upsetting and wrong. But I think that if if they trust and they're comfortable going and reporting it, it honestly, many people don't, just because of the whole blaming the victim, which needs to be changed and fixed immediately. But sadly, that's not always the case. A lot of people say, you never know, it could change. But I do think that these are a great start, especially the confidential. But if one does not trust the ones that you see, like I said, the hotline could be great as well.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it does suck right now because a lot of people don't know where to go, and then sometimes they feel like if they do reach out to police that they won't help, because in many cases that they haven't or not gone as deep for people who have been sexually assaulted. And so that's why it's good to have clubs like this and talk about it more so that more people can be able to believe the victim. And yeah, it's just better to have more understanding of the concept and just more awareness of what sexual assault is.
Thank you. So President Trump appointed Betsy Devos as the Secretary of Education. One of her responsibilities is overseeing Title IX across the country. Under her tenure, there have been multiple changes to Title IX. Could you guys speak about those?
I personally did not look into that. I'm able to after this meeting and share with you if you would like me to.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think we wrote that question down.
Okay, you're all good if you didn't. Just for any viewers, there have been changes and it has made it more difficult for survivors to come forward. Specifically, that happened with this fall was some of the biggest changes, and Students for Survivors, other groups asked UC to follow through with the old processes and procedures, and they decided to update to follow the modern implementation under the new changes to Title IX, which makes it harder for survivors.
Yeah.
So, next question would be, how are survivors impacted by these options or a lack thereof?
Well, I don't think we have that written down, but I can speak from experience. Can you repeat it one more time?
How are survivors impacted by these options or a lack thereof?
A lot of survivors obviously don't know where to go, but like having organizations like ours, it's good to have friends or people. I'm also going to add to that, like the how to support survivors, like how it's important to remember that it can be very difficult for individuals to come out about their experiences. And so support and providing resources or just listening is very important for people. So how to support survivors is the next one that we have. I'm sorry. And so yeah, speaking on that, it's just saying, I believe in you. It took a lot of courage to share your experience with me. It's not your fault. You're not alone. I care about you and I'm here to help. This shouldn't have happened to you. And going further, it is important to avoid judgment when your friend comes to you about that, to check in and to know your resources.
No, I was on mute. Okay, so next question would be for Emily. How rare are false allegations?
So when I researched this, I found from the FBI that 8% are proven to be false during investigation, which is a great thing to learn and understand. Some are false. You hear a lot about it, about celebrities, that their girlfriends or random people have come out and said that they have been sexually assaulted by this person. Their investigation, though, you find a lot of the time, or some of the time, that it's false. But it is important to realize that it can happen, but also to realize that 8% have proven to be false.
Okay, thank you. So an important statistic. So our next question is going to be, our next section of questions is going to be making change. So what can we do to change this? That one can go straight to Adeline.
Yeah, and so like we were talking about before, is by being active bystanders, we should make sure to step in every time you see something that's suspicious, because better be safe than sorry. And then creating a distraction, going up to the person directly, taking authority or asking others to help, some ways to get involved. And then like you said, it's an important step because you could potentially save a person's life. And then also another way that we can make a change and a difference by this is by educating more people about this and because some people don't know the words of like what's a bystander, sadly some people don't know what consent means, that it's yes or no, and then sometimes it can be like, I don't feel like it today, or can we do it later? And it's just important for people to know all the facts of it.
Okay, thank you. So next question is, what is rape culture? And that one can go to Emily.
So rape culture is in which sexual violence is treated as normal or is excused. And like I said, the victim is blamed. So we hear this all the time. He or she was wearing this, usually it's she, but she was wearing this, or boys, or, they were drunk, or, a lot of the time we hear, maybe as a joke, but still we hear, I hear a lot of this, or when they say no, they don't really mean no, or when they say no, they mean yes. And like Madeline said, it's important to learn about these things, especially, going out of your way to attend these meetings or attend It's On Us, for example, just to learn these things. And it's important to stop this.
All right, thank you. That looks like it's about all of our questions. If you guys have anything to add about any of the topics that we covered, please go ahead. If not, if there's any questions from the audience, you can either turn your mic on or throw them in the chat and I will read them.
Hey, I just joined. I'm sorry. I know that we talked about how to intervene with bystanders. As bystanders, I just wanted to share a story that I have from actually a couple weekends ago. So obviously there's three types of, when you're being a bystander, you have three options. You can intervene, distract, or just pull the person away from that situation. And so the other weekend I was with my roommate and we were at our friend's house, and there was a guy that kept approaching her and he was making her very uncomfortable. So I chose to intervene and I just asked him to step back a little bit, and he didn't answer or didn't comply with what I was asking. So I had to intervene even more, and I pretty much just told him to walk away. And obviously it's not the most comfortable situation, but we were talking to one of our guy friends that was there, and he said that we both looked visibly uncomfortable. And so I think body language and facial expressions are really, really, really important when you are even thinking about intervening in a situation. But he ended up just walking away, and it made us feel a lot better, even though I looked like the bad guy. But I don't mind to look like the bad guy if it means that I know that we're going to be more comfortable staying in that situation. So I guess my thing is, don't be afraid to intervene and stand up for what you believe in, and just make sure all your friends are safe and not uncomfortable and accounted for. So
Okay, thank you.
No
that was
problem.
Good. Thanks for sharing, Emma.
I will give you guys 30 more seconds if you have any questions. If not, we can wrap it up. It's been a good 25, almost 30 minutes. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so as with anything in our world, there's always room for reform. So if you're looking for change, specifically within the culture at UC, please go ahead and reach out to at It's On Us UC. They're tagged in multiple Instagram posts on this. They've also put your guys' contact information under the video whenever it gets posted, which will be tonight. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and reach out to their Instagram page. Thank you guys for attending, and thank you for any viewers that we catch after the fact.
Absolutely. And we just wanted to thank you guys for reaching out to us in the first place. Obviously, we're both new organizations, and any publicity is good for us. So, well, not any publicity, any good publicity is good for us. But we just kind of wanted to actually get involved with the UC community. So we are very appreciative that you guys thought of us and reached out to us. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.